The Raptors have thrown Collin Murray-Boyles into the fire that is NBA basketball. Not every rookie is welcome to the pros the same way, and it's clear CMB's journey is not going to include much handholding. From coming off the bench against ascending phenoms to starting head-to-head with some of the best bigs the NBA has to offer. Talk about a warm welcome to the league, if by warm we mean getting thrown right into the flames. Now, with 9 games of perspective on pick number 9, has Collin Murray-Boyles risen from the ashes, or is he still trying to figure out how to navigate through the smoke and embers? What's up, guys? I'm Zulfi Sheikh here with Raptors Republic. You can check out my work at raptorsrepublic.com as well as on YouTube. There is a written version of this video essay on the website, so be sure to check that out if you want more details. But as always, please be sure to like this video if you did enjoy it by the end. A lot of work went into it by myself and the rest of the Raptors Republic team. And as always, don't forget to subscribe so you can get your daily and weekly Raptors content covered. But with that being said, let's talk a little CMB. If we go back to the origins of what a trial by fire was, the rules were simple. If a person was deemed innocent or righteous, divine intervention would step in and protect them from the flames. Now, unfortunately for Collin Murray-Boyles, the basketball gods won't be stepping in no matter how many times he gets burned by one of the NBA superstars as a rookie. So then if you're wondering why the Raptors keep putting him in these very tough positions, asking CMB to impact the game on both ends of the floor, well, the answer to that is also very simple. Just ask head coach Darko Rajakovic.
Yeah, so he's a very talented basketball player. He has such a good feel for the game, spacing. He's really good in his roles, in pick and rolls. Tonight he had one lob dunk that Brandon Ingram threw to him. He just does a good job of being in the right place, and he competes on a really, really high level. I do think that it's not talked enough how good of a passer he is, but also he's adjusting to the speed of the game as well. He had, you saw that one in transition, he just threw the ball out, but that all of that is part of learning. So I think he's doing a really good job, and we want him as with ball in his hands and to be playmaking in those situations.
Now, after watching every possession of CMB's career to this point, nearly 400 of them, it's hard to disagree with coach's assessment. Despite being less than a month into his NBA career at just 20 years old, Collin Murray-Boyles' ability to read and react at a game speed is at a level you just don't see from a ton of rookies, to be quite honest. It's this constant flow of right decisions cascading throughout the minutes he's on the floor. So yeah, he is very talented, or like RJ Barrett explained it, he's not playing like a rookie right now. Even if his counting stats don't necessarily jump off the page, averaging about 9, 4, and 1 on just under 60% true shooting, it's the decisions along the way that have really stood out. On offense, he's been asked to fill in as a secondary or tertiary forward / center in most of the lineups he's been in, rarely being implemented as the lone or primary big man. And while that means he's been limited to doing more of the simple stuff, CMB has been nailing a lot of that to this point. As a screener, he's been versatile, knowing when to stop defender in their tracks, when to beeline to the hoop versus when to pop behind the three-point line, and when to simply just settle into that short roll area so he can look for dump offs and kick out passes. Collin Murray-Boyles leads the Raptors in roll man possessions and frequency, second amongst rookies in screen assists and points off of those screen assists, all while his points generated as a roller and his field goal percentage as a roller sit firmly within the top 50 around the NBA. On more than one occasion, I've noticed a rookie directing guys like Brandon Ingram or RJ Barrett to flare off screens he's initiated above the break, or he's decided to set a drag screen after a possession has flipped ends, opening space for the Raptors ball handlers to get downhill. Now look, it's no secret that under Darko Rajakovic, movement is central to the Raptors' offensive philosophy, and CMB's willingness and honestly his leadership in initiating screens both on and off the ball have empowered his teammates to stay within that motion. Meanwhile, his skills as a passer have been a highlight as well. Even if most of the assist numbers don't necessarily jump off the page, it's been CMB's ability to make connective passes that glue actions together that have really left an impression so far. His career-high 5 assists against the Memphis Grizzlies were a shining example of that, as the rookie made plenty of high-low feeds into traffic, acting as point B between point A and point C. And while I'd like to see him utilized more as a playmaking hub, until that happens, I'm still confident in his ability to make meaningful passes. He's eighth amongst rookies and fourth on the Raptors in secondary assists per game, validating the fact that Collin Murray-Boyles is constantly moving the ball in the right direction. Now, look, I'd be silly if I didn't mention the three-point shooting on offense, as I'm sure that's caught everyone's attention to this point. CMB has made 9 of 18 threes through his first 9 games in the NBA, which is pretty remarkable considering it took him 2 NCAA seasons and 39 attempts at South Carolina to make that many threes. Now, I will mention that his 50% mark has been propped up by a very strong 2-game stretch early on when he shot 6 of 9. If we zoom out a bit, he went without a single made 3 in 4 of his first 6 games and has gone 3 straight games since that 2-game stretch without making one, all while going 3 of 8 in that span, which isn't bad. But for CMB's jumper, which does look solid mechanically to get real respect from defenders, consistency is going to matter as much as conversion does, which is why after the highs and lows we saw, it's been positive to see that stabilize a little bit. Over his last couple of games, CMB has gone 3 of 4 from downtown, making at least 1 3 in each of those last 3 contests. What's also been impressive is his commitment to shooting threes and helping space the floor, even when the shots haven't necessarily been falling. Darko has empowered CMB in that regard, saying the rookie has a green light to let it fly when those shots are open, and the rookie's been listening. Against the Atlanta Hawks, CMB had missed his first 2 attempts from downtown, both from the left corner, and even then, he was still willing to float into that exact same spot later in the game, shoot that 3 ball without hesitation, and he cashed his 3rd triple, kind of speaking to that idea as he helped Toronto cut into Atlanta's lead. At the end of the day, making threes requires taking them, and so far, CMB has done both about as well as anyone could have hoped. And that's an important development considering what it unlocks for CMB. Coming out of college, his ability to get to the rim and finish were headlining skills for him. But in the NBA at 6'7", often matched up against bigger and stronger players, his driving volume has been pretty low, and his finishing up close at 62% has been slightly above average for his position, but doesn't exactly stand out the same way it did at the college level. Now, getting defenders to respect his jumper and take those 1 or 2 extra steps towards him will be huge for CMB's ability to sniff out those angles and get to the basket more often, which he and the Raptors frankly need more of. Collin Murray-Boyles' 2.3 drives per game ranked 209th in the NBA. That's as many as Cameron Johnson, who's very much a spot-up 3-and-D guy on the perimeter for the Denver Nuggets. That's pretty low volume considering CMB is top 25 in points generated on drives for players who are attempting less than 3 drives a game, and his field goal percentage is as high as 15th in the NBA for players averaging as many drives as him or more. There's a lot more juice to be squeezed there, and the hope is with a burgeoning jump shot, those lanes to the hoop will open up that much more often. Now, on a less positive note, I guess, arguably the weakest part of the rookie's offensive game has been his craft or lack thereof in the mid-range. CMB is 1 of 11 on non-rim 2s, and by my count, he's 1 of 6 on push shots. Now, I wouldn't call it a go-to by any means, but he's leaned on push shots from time to time against bigs when he's in a standstill position in the half court. But honestly, it's felt more like a last resort than a viable counter with how hasty and panicked it's looked at times. But at the same time, that's a bit of nitpicking at this point, because just like the fact that his defensive rebounding hasn't been all that impactful, although he's been solid on the offensive glass for a Raptors team that has struggled rebounding as a whole, my point here is he's not going to check every box in year 1. You do want to see his mid-range game develop, considering how teams are going to be defending him moving forward and seeing that as a viable counter. But you're just not going to get everything all at once, even from a top 10 pick. Overall, even if the sample size has been small, it's hard not to just buy into it. Having watched every one of his possessions to this point, there were so few times where I thought there might have been a better decision than the one he ultimately chose. When the open shots are there, he takes them. If closeouts come his way, he's able to attack them effectively, and then he's always willing to zip that extra pass as well when he sees it. Now, Darko says that quality comes from the fact that CMB is fearless, and he says it's because he just has that much trust in his teammates. As for me, I think it honestly comes from this idea of self-belief he has in himself And it's honestly unwavering just how much he displays it. And by watching his game, you can just see that level of self-confidence. Against the Cavaliers, for instance, Collin Murray-Boyles caught the ball in the high post and decided to go right at Evan Mobley. We're talking about the reigning defensive player of the year. And unsurprisingly, he got blocked, even though CMB was able to collect the rebound and score. But if you fast forward less than a minute later, CMB goes right at Mobley again without hesitating. This time, he drew a closeout in the left corner and then muscled his way to the basket and was able to finish with a lefty hook after an up and under move. Now, the point here is that testing an all-world defender like Evan Mobley takes gumption, even if you do it once. Doing it right after you had just failed takes boatloads of it. And CMB has done it against tons of these guys. We're talking about Evan Mobley. He did it against Victor Wembanyama and even a guy like Jaren Jackson Jr., who's also a former defensive player of the year. It's a level of confidence we don't see from that many vets, let alone guys who just entered the NBA. Now, switching over to defense, it's been a lot of what most fans have expected from CMB since we were all pretty much aware of his skills on that end when the Raptors drafted him. The rookie even said so himself.
I know the reason why I'm here, to play defense and to do the little things. So just trying to do that to the best of my ability. Never shy away from who I am and who I was and try to be the best version of myself. So.
And look, while he simply played up to the standard so far, I guess if you want to call it, it doesn't mean it's not worth admiring just how versatile and impactful CMB has been on the defensive end. The Raptors have asked a rookie to guard 1 through 5 pretty routinely, no matter what players or how good they are on the other side. The Raps have felt confident sticking CMB on all types of opponents, and while there have been some growing pains, he's delivered more often than not. In his first NBA game, for instance, he had to match up against Cooper Flagg and Anthony Davis. And then against the Spurs, it was Keldon Johnson, Stephon Castle, and Victor Wembanyama. With the Rockets in his very first start, it was Kevin Durant, Alperen Şengün, and then Steven Adams. And most recently against the 76ers, he had to pick up Kelly Oubre Jr., VJ Edgecombe, Andre Drummond, and even Joel Embiid for multiple possessions throughout the night. And it's not hard to see why the Raptors keep throwing CMB into these different positions and matchups, because he's great at navigating the floor from multiple spots as he can cover ground and honestly in an instant to put out fires made by his teammates. CMB is 9th amongst rookies in distance travel defensively, while his 2.8 deflections are 2nd. His ability to roam and get his magnet-like hands into passing lanes and digs honestly helps empower guys on Toronto at the point of attack to play within the way Darko wants them to defensively. Because even when there are mistakes, CMB is one of those very few guys on the Raptors who can make up for them pretty routinely. Now, ironically, it's also that eagerness to put out fires and make plays defensively that has got CMB burned on more than one occasion. He's 4th amongst rookies, averaging nearly 3 fouls per game, plenty of which have come as an instance of him kind of ball watching or drifting away from his man, which has led to some easy blowbys and cuts from time to time. Meanwhile, physicality has also been a bit of a double-edged sword for Collin Murray-Boyles defensively. Now, it's allowed him to really impose himself against smaller players like 1s and 2s, while finding success against bigger but more slender guys like Wemby or KD, who I thought CMB actually did a really good job against defensively in that game. Those are guys who won't try to really outmuscle you as much, but it's been more of a challenge physicality-wise for him to deal with players who are more bruisers, like a Giannis Antetokounmpo, for example, who we saw CMB had a really tough time against when they took on the Bucks, and it showed right away, to be quite honest. And it's also telling that CMB knows it as well. For all the players that he's matched up against to this point, again, we're talking MVPs, DPOYs, and All-Stars, it was Steven Adams who ended up actually leaving the biggest impression on CMB.
Adams is the strongest. He's insanely strong. My wrists are swole right now. I'm trying to box him out and tussle with him. That's impossible. Everybody goes through that, regardless if you've been in the league for 10 years. You're not getting around Steve. So I don't think that was a welcome, but it's a key experience in my young career for sure.
Honestly, those are some pretty wise words from the rookie, as his first couple of weeks in the NBA has been just that. It's been piling up this collection of key experiences, both good and bad, as he tries to find his footing in the NBA and learn on the job. All of which, by the way, has been possible because the Raptors have been so willing to throw CMB directly into the flames and his brazen confidence to face every challenge head on with zero hesitation. Each right decision he keeps making just continues to validate his top 10 selection, while also hinting to Raptors fans there is this potential for something far greater to be forged from within that fire. So there you have it. 9 games worth of perspective on pick number 9, Collin Murray-Boyles. Now, if you enjoyed this video, again, please leave a like on it, as it took a lot of time and effort from myself and the rest of the Raptors Republic team to help make this happen. And again, you can check out the written version of this video essay on raptorsrepublic.com. And if you want to see more daily and weekly content like this and more, make sure you subscribe to the Raptors Republic YouTube channel. As always, I am Zulfi Sheikh. I will see you when I see you. Peace.